Today we have with us Vijay, a senior cloud consultant architect, deep expertise in generative AI, also a mentor in Google for Startups Accelerator program.
It all started with a discussion. Vijay, इसको cloud पे क्यों नहीं लेके जाते हैं? So that was a change into my career. You look out for the opportunities. So you never know what kind of opportunity comes from what side of the corner. I am a lifelong learner, and my motto is like.
So hi Vijay, welcome to TechFluent Season 5.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
So there were a lot of questions that were there in the auditorium today during this session, and some of them we pulled from the students.
Great.
As an advice which we can give out to the larger audience, because we were restricted to an audience of 2,000 or so in the auditorium. So the first question that came out, that you have been working in the cloud, data analytics, AI for almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
What were some key turning points early in your journey that set this learning apart in this learning path or journey, I would say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a great question. So with this comparatively 2 decades of the experience, right? The first and foremost, what I think is the adaptation, right? How quickly we adapt to the new coming technologies. When you talk about my cloud journey, it all started with a discussion because I was working on premises like data architect, solution architect. But one fine day, my boss said, Vijay, isko cloud pe kyun nahi leke jate hain? So that was a change, right, which got into my career, right? So the POC, what I started working on to build that thing, what we did on premises and get that into the cloud, right? So that was a change which have taken me till long. Okay, so that's a major thing, right? And also I learned the flexibility, the scalability, the operational things and efficiency when getting into the cloud, right? And the best part, what we see or what we hear is the pay as you go model, right? So uh, usually we used to have like data centers in our own locations and all, but whenever we need to scale up, scale down, it used to be like more capex, right? More capital expenses rather than operation expenses. So when getting into the cloud, so I learned that, I took that as an opportunity for learning, right? And that really helped me out to step up into my cloud journey career, right? As a cloud architect, and then into a leading delivery as a delivery leads, and also consultant on data analytics, and now into Gen AI, then now into the agentic AI. So that's the point what I can say that which really helped me out to a single word. The main intention to tell, like, you look out for the opportunities, right? So you never know what kind of opportunity comes from what side of the corner. So you have to be pretty alert and grasp that and try working on out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in a different way, if I summarize it, you were a student throughout, kept on learning, kept on adapting, and being flexible
Yes.
is what led to where you are today.
Yeah, and I believe it, like I'm a lifelong learner. Okay, and my motto is like never stop learning. So yeah.
And that's here with from Vijay to all of you students. Be a lifelong learner. Learning is going to be a part of your journey throughout.
Yeah.
Now, for students and new grads wanting to work in cloud and AI, which technical skills should they focus on mastering first?
Okay. So again, another good question. Because the trend is going towards AI. Yeah. Right. I would suggest them to start with building their portfolio, right? So what they have learned in their learning journey, right? It has to be implemented, which has which has some outcome to it, which can attach some outcome to it. So when they get what do you say? Get the things what they have learned, implement that, right? So yeah, AI is a buzzword right now, but learning the AI and what we are doing, what AI does inside, right? So it, uh, along with the technical things like build your models or train your models, fine tune it, do evaluation, and distillation, depending on your use cases or or your business case or whatever the requirement is, right? So that would be a good starting point, right? So where as a AI engineer, or I would advise to take a step back, like as a, so why don't they start as a data engineer, right? Because data is all, it's, we used to call data is a new oil, right? But it's always going to be a new oil, what I say, right? So why don't they start with how data plays a vital role for an organization, for themselves, right? So what data can help, so build the data insights, and then what when you take a next step of AI, build the models, then train the model on what data you have, and satisfy that with your business case or your requirements, so that it can attach and get you the result what you need, right? So overall, like, yeah, I think AI, ML, I would also take a next step of data science and data engineering, and also bits and pieces of cybersecurity as well, because now everything is cloud driven, you can say. But in my previous experience, right, I was working for a financial services. Okay, so where I was working closely with the country regulators, right? Because every country has its regulation whether my data has to be in my own country, or it should be in on premises or cloud, right? So where you should know how the things works, right? So what type of different securities are involved, how can you convince someone, okay, your data is secured, right? So I think these are few things which can help students to get on top.
To understand compliance and regulation,
Regulatory
GDPR, now the DPDP Act that is coming into the industry for India. Yeah, great. So many organizations are still in very early stage of migrating legacy systems to cloud. What are the best practices you recommend for scaling system, ensuring reliability, and pay as you go managing the cost?
Yeah, that's good. I think when we start our journey, right? I think when we started cloud journey, everyone, all the customers, all the people, they followed the same approach, because the best practice is like, do start with lift and shift first. Okay, so that's the always win-win scenario, and rather thinking big first. Why don't you yourself migrate your stuffs into cloud, be acquainted, and then take a next step to modernize it, right? The modernize is one thing, and also how can you start using the cloud native tools, it irrespective of what cloud you choose, because every cloud has its own native tools which will help you to be more efficient if you are in a single, in one of the cloud, right? So lift and shift, and then take a next step of getting yourself modernized. It can be data modernization, it can be infra modernization, or it can be application modernization, right?
Okay. As a mentor and someone with many Google certification, how should students use certifications and mentorship to accelerate their career? And how do they choose what certifications are worth and how to pair with real on hands-on experiences, I would say?
Fantastic. It's a great question, and which is like matter of time right now, right? As I was talking, my certification journey started during COVID. Okay, so which I started because I was working on Google Cloud at that point of time. So I wanted to get a good number of certifications, right? So there were multiple reasons to get. One is you will raise a bar, right? That okay, there is certification because you start preparing for the certification, right? Because it's our human tendency that okay, until unless kuch aag nahi lage, we will not give our 100%, right? So I took that as a challenge for myself. Huh. I used to schedule the certifications, and then what I used to start prepare, because that's what we do. So I used to start doing it. I started with Google Cloud, then I took a step back, saying, okay, why don't I see what's there in other cloud as well? Because at that time I was working for financial service, because usually, like most customers, more thing, we use multi-cloud as an environment, avoid vendor lock-in and correct what not, right? So that was a scenario where the multi-cloud came into picture for my own learning. So one is push your boundary, other is you have prepared it, Okay. And then you're giving the exam, right? So it's actually testing your ability, right? Along with that, I would definitely I would not advise anyone to read through it, read through the learning material, and get through the certification. Most probably you can get past, but my experience behind that is you learn, use the sandbox environment, get your hands dirty. तुमने जो भी यहाँ पढ़ाई की है, you implement that, so that you'll be well versed with what technology you've been learned and what you have learned and how you're gonna implement that, right? So that really adds a value that until unless you get your hands dirty, the certification value is not so great, but definitely it adds up a value. Maybe it makes your resume stronger, but one or other day during your interviews and all, at that point of time, you'll definitely get caught. So certification, yes, along with that, what hands-on and what you have created out of your own interest, right? So as your portfolio or anything, right? This is what is my thing. And along with that, I think the last part of the question was on mentorship, right? Definitely, what you have your mentors, definitely, because you never know what. I think you can have one mentor is ideal, but you can have money as well, but not more than two and three, right? Because you have a specialized mentor for one thing, specialized. So you learn as much as possible, right? It's like learning from them and what kind of a real time challenges they encountered, how can they help you, right? I think that's the one which really plays a vital role over here.
Okay. Now, if I have to summarize it, uh, so they need to go for certifications, but I practice a lot hands-on. Yeah, that hands-on is what is going to help them clear the certification at the same point of time, get through the interviews.
Right.
Directly.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps when applying for industry.
Yes, and the while we learn, right, it's not like a theoretical. If you give an example of Google Cloud certification, they check on the application, right? How do you implement this solution, right? This solution and what service is better? So they give you a scenario, right? For this scenario, what are you gonna do? So it's similar to other clouds as well, but that shows your aptitude or understanding capability, which will really help.
What advice would you give to newly graduate engineers when interviewing applying for cloud AI roles? Maybe companies like Google and other.
Okay. It can be in generic, right? So freshly graduate, they have done. I would just tell one important thing. Take your the internship bit serious and your final year project also bit serious, right? Because that's the time where you learn a lot, right? And then if you think about technology, yes, you have to learn, you have to acquire it, you have to implement it. But along with that, or solving the interview problems or interview questions, right? Be prepared for the problem solving capability, critical thinking, and you should have active listening skills, right? Because many a times what happens is like you get into interview and you always be in hurry. You hear the question, you start answering immediately, right? It's a generic things. Take some time out, think through the question, understand the question, and I would take another step to reiterate the question to the interviewer. Boss, is this the right understanding what I've thought? Because this is a very first thing which you are thinking, your thinking process starts and you start answering. If your question itself you understood wrong, it goes into a different direction. Same way, my favorite subject in school engineering is mathematics. Okay. So because initially we used to take a question from the question paper, write it in the answer paper. You write a question and then you solve it. So I think many a time I did a mistake that taking a wrong question in the answer sheet.
Okay.
Right? So I solved it. That the question may be the square, cube, or x, y, whatever it is. That question I have to put in the wrong one. But I answered it whatever is in the paper. But they're not expecting that. So the thing what I want to correlate is we have to understand the question properly, ask clarifying questions because you always should ask like whether is your understanding correct, right? Or you call out like what kind of assumptions you are taking. You ask question because it will be a big scenario, right? Because you may not be able to capture because two things as a person would think when you ask question, that you buy in some time for your thought process. Other thing, the interviewer can also think like, okay, he or she is really interested and they are going into the process of things, right? I think problem solving, critical thinking, and also try solving some hypothetical problems as well, right? So what if something has happened, how do you do it? Or behavioral, like if there is, imagine this is a scenario which you encountered even in your college days. Like I see a lot of groups are there, right? Everybody will have one or other problems what they face. How did they overcome, right? So I think this is what I think. Apart from technical things, yeah, technical is what I stress upon, but along with that, this is what is really important.
So you already answered another question and being right.
Is it?
Do not jump to the conclusion. First, understand the problem, bisect the problem, and understand it proper before giving out a solution. That was the next question I would have asked about mistakes that you can do in an interview, and they were already.
Oh, is it?
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, before we end it, let's go to a few rapid fire questions.
Yep.
Small ones where you can take and give brief answers to the students in maybe a word or go. One Google Cloud service everyone should experiment as a beginner.
Okay, I'll say two, because one is BigQuery, because that's the enterprise data warehouse. Because people in data science, computing, even the data warehousing concepts, I think that's one of the petabyte scale warehouse, and now it has got not only data, it is giving me the insights, it is giving me the visualization as well in a single step, because end users may require data, how data is performing, right? So there is no use of data without data insights, basically, right? So that's the one which I think BigQuery in terms of technology. But other thing, the tool what they want to use, Gemini or Notebook LM, right? So which I have mentioned in the morning as well, that if you have a chapter which is understanding a bit difficult, or a concept, you just upload that PDF and it will create you the presentation. It will create you the audio podcast. So where it will be like where you can hear the conversation of two people. Because so I think we are used to, if somebody tells us, it goes into our mind, right? Because that's how we have our teacher, professor concept, right? So I think when you are driving, when you are riding your bike, so it's, or when you are traveling, so it will clear your thoughts, and a video kind of thing. The newest part in Notebook LM is, I think I need to check whether it's GA or not, but it's a two people, what I've told. There's one more feature added, like a third one. You being a audience, you can ask question. Okay. So there is a conversation happening like two of us, and somebody can, outside a person who is interested in this topic as a learner, he or she can ask a question, and the podcast stops. It says, okay, very good question. And it tries to answer the question related to that. And also
Mind map.
mind map. Yeah, mind map is really a good thing which I was missing. So that's the one which really helps you to understand, ask question in between, make it more interactive, basically. I think these are two things what I can think. I know it's not rapid fire, but yeah.
One book, article, or course that changed your view about cloud engineering. It could be a certification also.
Yeah, it can be certification. Yes. So I think couple of them again. One is on SRE, right? So that showed like how the site reliability engineering works, the scalability, the elasticity, durability, or whatever, right? So and it's, yeah, SRE is really good. And other one is on I think it's a long back, my college days, computer networks. Yep. By Andrew S. Tannenbaum. I still remember.
Okay.
2006.
Yeah. It's
Amazing. I just,
Bible of networks.
yes, I just read it, and you will be able to understand it. Because I, being a data guy, few years before joining Google, I was in at Rackspace, and I led the infra team there. I joined as an infra, and I learned a lot of things, the networks, the routers, switches. So it was like I thought like, okay, all my days are back. So I think this is what and it really, it these days we have a software defined networks, but the core logic or core
something from that.
from that.
Okay, last thing. How was your experience coming to TechFluent Season 5 at NPO?
It's amazing and no words. Okay. And even though I was like not well, and thanks to the great hospitality, entire team, Savarda, yourself, and the management as well, I would like to pass on my thanks to them. And great students, great questions asked. There is no hesitation in asking the questions. I think that's the other thing what I wanted to pass on. I would always say that keep asking questions, be curious. So why is this happening, right? So I think that's the one. Always bear a question mark in your mind, and that was good. And keep asking. No question is silly. So always, whenever something comes to your mind, you ask. And yeah, amazing campus. Been there to top institutes till now, but I see. I think it's one of the greatest institute where we stayed today. And yeah, I appreciate for having me, and thank you for listening today.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijay, for being with us, taking out time for TechFluent Season 5. Yeah. Thank you.